Hey, Brandon here. This is channel messages on January 2025. How are you doing? I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time. I'll be reading through here. And I also will be channeling through any additional channel information that my spirit guides, the angels, and source would like to bring through for you. And I'll work with my intuition on all of that as well. Before I get started, I have one thing coming up I'm pretty excited about. I'd like to tell you about really quickly. It's a mini course I'm facilitating called Shift Your Beliefs, Upshift Your Life. And it's going to be all about how your beliefs create your reality, how to change your beliefs to create a different reality and generate a life that's more along the lines of what you'd like to live or fully along the lines of what you'd like to live. So I'll have some information on that below in the description if that interests you. I so look forward to facilitating that. Beyond that, let's get started on January here. So, the first thing that came through ahead of time, unless they redirect me, so dragons show up for this a lot, and it makes sense to me. Like one, it's a magical crowd. Two, well, I can explain it later. But with the dragon showing up here, it's like a golden dragon or like orange. There's also like something that looks like Charizard from Pokemon, so that's interesting. And this dragon is like using its fire breath. It's almost throwing like a flamethrower. So the message here, I feel like for this crowd, there are things you're afraid of burning you that, at least for about half of you here, you're afraid of things that burning you that aren't going to burn you. So whether it's like getting fired from a job or it's something like making the wrong move in life and everything tanks and falls apart. What I'm here to tell you, what I'm being guided to tell you is you're a lot more divinely protected than you realize. And like things aren't going to fall apart without reason. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. So if for most of you, if things fall apart, it's for the better. There's something better for you. There's a plan at work. It's not something to be afraid of per se, even if everyone else on earth would seem to tell you that and tell you you need to be afraid. Like there is a lot of fear energy on the planet. There are a lot of people who live in fear 24/7 and tell you to be afraid of everything. But guess what? Those people are going to die anyways, just like the people who aren't afraid are going to die anyways. So does it really serve them to live in fear all the time? And does it really serve you to live in fear 24/7 or be constantly worried about things all the time or worried about getting burned all the time when the track record is probably going to show you otherwise for the vast majority of you, actually all of you, if you really look at it. Maybe some of you are giving me the stink eye right now as I say that. But have you really looked at it? Have you looked at all the nooks and crannies? Or are you just looking at the major life events of where things fell apart and saying that's your story when there are a million things in between them, or probably a lot of things in between them where things did go well, or maybe major events where things did go well and you're not paying attention to those? So, as far as why we're talking about this for January 2025, I'm hearing things are on a better track than you realize for all of us here, which is fantastic. You don't need to be afraid. Now is the time to create your reality instead of being afraid. It's time to put things in motion that will create your reality in the best ways or move you in the directions you'd like to go. It's time to manifest, of course, what you'd like to see and move the energies in the direction you'd like to go. That way is something I'm getting as well. And I'm going to sit with it for just a second to make sure I'm getting you the messages that are really going to help you regarding this. Yeah, just to reiterate, this dragon is saying like you don't need to be afraid. Like you won't get burned like in the past. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of luck on the rise right now for a lot of you, so it's actually like time to move forward for a lot of you here. If some of you are more like in rest mode, which is not going to be all of you, like mm, that's okay. You can be restful if you need to, but I don't feel like that's really the main message for this crowd. I feel like moving forward and creating your reality the way you'd like to see it is the message, like without fear, if you can here. I'm going to read number one here. So, with number one, they gave me the phrase new energy. They said there's a lot of new energy on the way. A lot of manifestations are on the way. You are being rerouted to new paths that will suit the new year. Allow change. There is rapid transformation afoot, essentially, is what they said. And I feel like I've been getting this message about being redirected or redirection energy or being rerouted like quite a bit the past few months. I feel like it's stronger this month. I feel like if you haven't seen that, it's going to hit soon is something I'm getting. Most of you have seen it, is also what I'm hearing. Uh, just know like that's in the energies right now. That's hitting like a lot of people at different times here. And it's going to be happening again and again because there is a lot of correction that needs to happen for everybody here, is what I'm getting. It's not a bad thing. It's just time to reroute. It's looking at what the world needs and maybe even what we need, and the universe is moving us where we need to go for all of that. I heard originally like for where the world needs. So really trust like the redirection where you're rerouted, where things get turned on their head and you have to go in a different direction. It's for the highest good. So don't fret. Is pretty much what I'm saying, which kind of goes back to that fear message earlier as well. With rapid transformation, that's something I got for channeled messages on January for the membership, the Let's Go Higher membership, which is my monthly membership. And when it shows up in both places, I know it's kind of a big message or potentially an important message or just something both crowds really need to hear. And I know a lot of you in the membership also watch the ones on YouTube too, just to kind of get the picture with both of them and get the big picture with both of them. So please know there is like a lot of rapid transformation for everybody here in big ways, probably over the next few months, even. I'm hearing the words like becoming your higher selves, becoming who you're meant to be, moving towards what you're meant to move towards. So that's all really good stuff. It's just, it's quick. It's not like, oh, I'm going to transform over these next 10 years. It's, oh, shoot, I feel like a different person today, or like a lot of transformation, or things you've been working on, or things the universe has been leading you through, maybe even over the past year, like landing a bit more and the transformation's complete. It's speaking to that too for at least some of you as well. And also, I apologize if you could hear my cat meowing outside the door. I guess he'd like to add the cat meows to this. So, number two here, there was a message about not judging yourself as well as not envying. We'll talk about that here. It's just important that you're not judging for your path right now, like not comparing yourself to others, not thinking you're better than others. And what that doesn't mean is, I mean, yeah, sometimes we're better than others at a skill, and it's fine to be like aware of that. It's like, okay, I'm really good at guitar, and this person isn't. Okay, cool. It doesn't mean like, it doesn't mean you're judging yourself as better than them egoically, just because you're better than them at guitar, or maybe you're better at manifesting or channeling, whatever it is. It's important that you're on your path creating your best life. That definitely came through in some pretty big ways with this with the channel messages that came through ahead of time. We'll get to that in a bit here. I'm just going to read the message. Watch out for envy and watch out for judging your life or someone else's life. Now is a great time to be an allowance of everything and get into question or manifestation instead of judgment. For example, instead of judging yourself for making a mistake, ask what are the best possibilities from here. And I'm borrowing a bit from Access Consciousness, which some people like, some people don't. I just use the tools that they talk about and the ways that work for me and the ways I'm divinely guided and just run from there. I also like to give credit where credit's due. I'd rather not take something from Access and be like, oh, it's my idea, something like that. So, but if you're asking something like, what are the best possibilities from here? That's like a way of the word that other people might use is manifesting or actualizing something different, because you ask the question and the universe answers by manifesting the answer essentially. So you'll be like, what are the best possibilities from here? And you'll probably perceive like a shift energetically and like a lightness open up. And then like lighter things happen or better things happen or the possibilities are shown to you or they actualize for you or something along those lines. So it just moves things in that direction instead of like getting caught in the judgment game and beating up on yourself for a week and then hiding under the covers and then you don't do anything and then you just kind of stew in it for longer and it just kind of, you don't move on as quickly, it just kind of slows things down. And judgment can slow things down in other ways as well. I'll read the next part here, unless there's something else I should say. I'll just read the next part. Getting out of judgment is going to help your life be and get better faster. You'll move faster in your life, you'll progress faster in your journey, and life will come to you way more easily. So even if you're like judging yourself for something, maybe it's what you're eating, maybe it's choices you're making, you are probably or are slowing down your progress through judging it instead of being an allowance of it or stepping back and observing it. It's like, oh, interesting. I'm choosing this and I keep choosing this. Okay. Well, instead of trying to control myself and judge myself, which hasn't really worked, in fact, it's kind of constricted my life and just made things more difficult for me, I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm choosing this. And that will usually open up a space where you can choose something different more readily, at least you sometimes right away, maybe over time for some people, compared to like judging yourself and then doing it again and judging yourself. Or, there's something else is possible, essentially. So if you can just step back and observe, or even like if you do keep judging, like step back and observe that and observe yourself judging and be in that stepped back place, things just progress faster. You evolve faster, your personal journey and your journey within yourself can evolve faster too. I've heard similar things like that from Lee Harris, I believe, when he's talked about judgment and things he's got about judgment. Uh, and I would say both Access Consciousness stuff and Lee Harris probably good places you could look as far as getting out of judgment with things they bring through. They both talk about it in differing ways about getting out of judgment. And again, for me, the more I've gotten out of judgment, the faster things have progressed as well. So couldn't hurt. The other thing with like judgment is it kind of keeps you out of what is true and what is true for you. Like if you're judging someone if you're judging someone as a bad person for having money, let's say for example, I think that's just a juicy one. And that's the one I was seeing as an example here. One, you're probably going to be keeping money away from yourself because you're judging money and you're judging having money as bad. So, are you going to allow yourself to have money if you're judging it as bad? Or are you going to try to avoid being a bad person or being judged as a bad person, even by other people or by yourself? So, you keep money away from you. So, it slows things down. It keeps you from having something you might wish to have if you saw what is true about money for you, which is it's a neutral energy. It's just an energy. There's nothing wrong with it inherently or bad about it inherently. The things people choose to do with money can be the things that have impacts that aren't what you'd like to see, for example. Like you could choose to strip the rainforest of its resources. You could choose to preserve the rainforest by buying up swaths of land with the rainforest on it. That's something I've heard, and I think that's a good example for what I'm talking about. Or like with a hammer, you can build a house for the homeless or you could kill someone with a hammer. So, just a tool. The hammer didn't do anything wrong. The hammer is just a hammer. It's the people who chose to do something with the hammer that created an impact that was either for the highest good and of the light, or an impact that wasn't of highest consciousness and wasn't maybe the thing that would be what we'd like to see. Okay. So that's kind of what they'd like to say about judgment. As far as envy here, it's kind of important we talk about it just because it's in the energies. I'm getting a lot of people are kind of going through it, at least regarding this crowd, or might be around people going through it, and it might be tricky to navigate for some people. Envy can be like a precursor, or I almost would like to say awareness exercise. I don't think exercise is the right phrase, though. It can be something that gives you an awareness of, oh, I'd like something about my life to be different. So if someone has, let's use money again, a lot of money, and all of a sudden you're really envious and you're like, they have money and I'm working this job and I don't like this job. It's like, okay, yeah, well, step back, observe. We don't have to judge yourself for it. You'd be like, okay, interesting. What is this envy trying to tell me? Like, why is this here? Oh, I haven't allowed myself to move towards having a lot of money because I've been judging it, but actually maybe I'm meant to have a lot of money and that's part of why I'm feeling envious about this, or I'd really like to have that. And this envy is telling me something about my life needs to change, in some way, shape, or form. So envy can be one of those things that teaches you like what you'd like to be different and what you'd like to have. And if you're using it, I guess correctly, I hesitate to say correctly, but that's the word I heard, it's going to help you improve your world and inspire you to make a change and choose something greater. Now, worst case scenario, you're going to take it and blame the other person and think they're the reason you don't have what you'd like to have because they have it, which isn't true at all. Usually, maybe there's some weird circumstances in specific examples where that's not exactly the case. However, usually, like someone having a lot of money does not take money away from you at all. Someone having a really cool circumstance does not take it away from you at all. It's just like that's usually an example of something you could choose for yourself in your own way that fits your journey that's right for you. If it's right for you and if it's the right thing for you, you know? So if it suits your path or journey. The other thing with like envy around you or if other people are going through it, I'd like to make sure I'm hitting this from the angles that are for that is good for this crowd watching this. So give me 1 second to channel the messages. Da, 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 da. Mm. They're saying I kind of hit what needed to be hit. It was very on the nose for some of you, so you're welcome. That's going to help you shift in good ways, and that's why I do it, and that's why they do it. So in some ways, so in most of the ways. So we're going to move on to number 3. If they'd like to say anything more about envy, we'll get to that. Number 3, they show me there's a 2.5 actually. They're showing me a clam here. Okay, some of you are afraid of making certain moves because other people are envious or you're afraid of other people's envy. And again, you're showing them a higher possibility for their world if you'll step into it anyways and let them be envious. And I know some of you are worried or afraid of like psychic attack or things like that. And you don't have to buy into the reality that things like that are true, is going to be my hint to you in the first place. A lot of the crap, maybe not all the time, but a lot of the crap people experience like that is because they bought into a belief that it exists. Not always. Like evil eye, for example. I know some people are going to hate this example, and that's okay. My guides channeled it through specifically in one of the channels they facilitated through me, and I've heard it over and over again when I check in. But I get evil eye isn't real. I know that probably rustles Jimmy's because some people base their whole reality about being afraid of evil eye and thinking it's gonna get them and stuff like that. And like you just don't have to buy into it. And the less you buy into it, the less it affects you, usually is what I'm getting. So you don't need to be afraid of all those things. I think it's good to come back to you and sit with your intuition, like, okay, what do I get is true? And like if something's negatively impacting you, it's like, okay, what's going on here? Is this a belief I need to shift that's creating this? Is this something I actually need to work on setting energetic boundaries regarding for myself? Is this something I actually don't need to worry about, or it's not what I think it is, and I just need to get clarity on what it is so I can appropriately handle it? Or is it just telling me I need to move away from certain people in my life, and it's a sign like, okay, this isn't a friend that's best for me to be around at this time, or this isn't a family member that's good to inundate myself with as far as steeping in their energies and conversing with them a lot. It's time to move on and find something that suits me better. So those things can be like signs or showing you different things, but I don't think we need to be afraid per se or buy into realities where we need to be afraid. And I apologize for my cat meowing if you hear the cat meowing, but the mic might not be picking up on it. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent. They wanted me to go there though. So coming back to this, you don't need to be afraid of people being envious. You're showing people a higher reality and possibility and choice for them by stepping into that higher reality and possibility and shining a light of what's possible. And you can change people's realities and the world that way more so than playing small and shrinking down and clamming up and not moving towards what you'd like to have, what you want, what you desire, because you're afraid of what other people will think, judge, or be envious, or they'll feel bad. It's like, well, maybe they'll need to feel bad or envious before they'll realize they can choose something else and they don't have to keep choosing the same limited things they've been choosing that would make them envious of something someone else has because they keep choosing it and living that life. So it's also just not on you to please everyone. It's not on you to appease everyone's feelings and judgments and thoughts and realities. Like, what about the life you would like to have? Like, don't limit that for other people ever, because you're just keeping the world more limited by doing that and bringing a more limited energy for your life by doing that. And you're also living for other people instead of you. And what example does that set for other people? What precedent does that set for you? And that probably just doesn't create what you'd like to have. And as above, so below, it doesn't create what other people would like to have either at the end of the day, even if they don't have that elevated perspective where they'd be like, oh, wow, that person stepped into this higher possibility and lightness and thing they'd like to have. That really opens this energetic thing for everyone else to have that more easily as well. So glad that they are having that abundance and experience. And like, I understand not a lot of people on earth, or not as many people on earth are there as we'd like. And so it doesn't matter if they support you in stepping into it. I step into it anyways and trust it creates greater and sets a great example for everyone else and has more of the impact you'd like to have on the earth than playing limited or small. And yeah, sometimes there's an appropriate time to do it. We don't have to judge ourselves if we don't do it right away or we've been playing that dance for a while. That's just something to heal in yourself regarding people pleasing and trying to keep everyone else, probably trying to keep yourself safe in a sense, but maybe keep everyone else safe from their own feelings. You just don't have to curtail to that. That's just not really a super healthy place to operate from 24/7 if it's limiting you or your life. Okay, so beyond all that here, so I guess the words I'm hearing are step into your dream life or step towards it, manifest it, and don't worry what people think. It's their responsibility to get to a better place within themselves. Anyways, not your job to appease their BS. Okay. So there's like a number 2.7 they're adding in here. We're still with the clam here. So the clam has what it would like to have now. It has the trophy. And not everyone around this clam is happy that this clam has succeeded. And not all of them are choosing greater for themselves. They're choosing to stay in like judgment or like projection or misery, but it's their choice. And it's better for you to give them the opportunity to choose it, even if they don't choose it, is what that is saying. And from there, it is their choice in there. You could say, I guess, maybe responsibility, sort of, to choose their journey from there. So if they're still envious at that point, that's on them. Like, again, it's showing them a way they can change their life to make it greater, and it's showing them a greater possibility for themselves. Number three, they show me a dragonfly. So this dragonfly was like dying. It was like pinned, dead, like displayed in a museum. And this dragonfly regretted its past choices as it was kind of like dying or like pinned up. And the message is like, can you move on to the new instead of like staring at the past? Like if you're someone who's like in regrets or wondering if what would have happened if you made a different choice or something like that. So people are all going to die one day, so it is important that you are living your life in the ways you would like to and that you are choosing your life for you. You get one shot this lifetime for that as this you that you are now, this iteration of you, this incarnation of you. Don't live with regret, don't live with regret. Create a life you'd like to live. It kind of goes back to furthers the message we were just talking about in a different way, but they might also have some different angles on this one too. Yeah. So I did ask like why it was important for January. I kind of already said it, but they're like, it's in the energies right now. People need to hear it. So that's why we're talking about it. Mm, the question I'm hearing is what are the choices you need to make so you don't regret your life and you don't regret your past when you're in the future? Okay. Something else is popping in where it was like a quote from a book where it was like not just living for today, but also putting in place the things today that will generate the future you'd like to have. And you can have both. You can do things you enjoy now and that bring you a lot of joy and peace and things you'd like to experience. And you can also choose to put in place the things that will create the future you'd like to have, generate the future you'd like to have. So I would do both. I would enjoy your life now. And maybe you can find things that you enjoy doing that also create a future you'd like to create or generate a future like you'd like to create. You can ask for those things. You can manifest them if you're not sure how to create them. You don't always have to know how. Sometimes you can just ask and receive and work on your manifesting that way. And that will create more of what you'd like to see in a better way than getting lost in the wondering how you're going to do that. And that is a skill. Manifestation is a skill. It's something you can grow. You can have energetic potency you grow that helps with that. So you might wish to go on the journey with that if you're new here or newer with all that and you're not sure what I'm talking about. I would look up things about manifestation and see what resonates for you and begin playing with it and growing that skill. And you'll be off to the races with creating a better life for you with higher possibilities because you won't be living in a limited reality where you have to understand the how 24/7, or you won't have to live in the place where you think you have to realize how to do something before you can have it. You'll just ask and the how will show up 24/7 essentially, or it'll just be like a higher reality that way, with creation and generation and generating the life you'd like to live. Anyways, where were we with this? I think the important part of this is creating a life you'd like to live. Essentially, that's we talked about it in like 2.5 or whatever, and like number two. It also just came through in number three to kind of hammer at home, I guess, where we are kind of in a new energy and the possibilities are rising. So, are you willing to walk towards the new, and are you willing to not care what people think and choose your best life regardless? Because again, they're going to die anyway. You're going to die anyways. What are you going to choose in the meantime? Please don't regret it. And if you're not sure how, then maybe ask to make the choices you won't regret. Ask for it. Ask for that to show up. Ask to be shown how to do that. Call in the resources. Do what you have to do. Okay. Number four, unless there's more they'd like to say here, they're ready for number four. So there was a message about a massive awakening this month, and like they showed the lights coming on. So it's like it could be upgrades to your gifts. It could just be like clarity in life. Like there is a huge awakening energy with this crowd. So be gentle on yourself as you wake up or go further into awakening. Things are just beginning, even if you think you are awake. So you're going further through the layers of awakening, or you're just getting more clarity in your world. If you feel like you're already spiritually awake with things maybe you didn't see before or you weren't ready to see, now this spirit's like, nope, we're turning the lights on in every area. Time to see clearly. Time to lift the veils. Time to make you see what you need to see. So that's a big energy this month I'm getting. And it might not always be like pretty, or you turn the light on in a room you haven't been in a long time. You're like, oh, I didn't realize that cobweb was there. Or, oh, I didn't realize that spider had taken up residence in the corner. Time to get rid of that in some way, shape, or form. So there is kind of a lot of that going around. Or sometimes we see things about relationships we didn't wish to see, with something about our mom, maybe, or a brother, or a sister, or a friend, or a boss. We're like, oh, I did not realize they had this issue going on, or that they were like that, or that I was in this relationship with a narcissistic leaning energy once again, or someone with narcissistic tendencies, not to throw the label on people without really looking at the nuances of it. Um, but yeah, that energy is kind of there. So just be gentle on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Ask again, you can ask like, what are the possibilities from here? What are the best choices from here, or things like that. But it's for a reason. It's like people are ready to wake up, or more people are. More people are ready to go further into that. More people are ready for more gifts and more clarity. And again, I feel like this is going to help you create your best life, because if you see more of what's going on, or everything going on, you're going to be able to make the best choices. It reminds me, the thing flashing in is actually from the movie, like the second Dune Part 2, the recent Dune movies. And there's this scene where the main character, he has to like, uh, explaining this to people who haven't seen this movie is probably hilarious, but he has to drink this like blue pee that is the pee of worms, which makes sense if you've seen the movie, but sounds cringe maybe if you haven't. But pretty much what it does is it like wakes up his ability to like see. I would say intuitively. In the movie they might call it something else, but like see intuitively essentially, and like see like fully, and kind of awaken his gifts all the way. And then he's kind of talking about like, oh wow, I see it all. I see these possibilities and the possible futures, and I see in so many futures like this or this happens, but there's this future where we win, or where I win, or whatever. And maybe that isn't the best lightest example. I mean, in some ways it is if you don't place the Dune context on top of your life as well. But it's kind of like I'm getting something like being able to see like that, or just being able to see more, and then just knowing what the best choices are and choosing your best path with the clarity you have. It's kind of like, would you rather stay with someone who drags you back in your life and not get clarity or have the clarity and have to go through the uncomfortable realization, oh, this person is like this and it is holding me back or dragging me back in some way. So I'm going to choose to move on so I can have something better. Like your life's going to be better with the second choice, obviously. Okay. So that's something to kind of keep in mind with that. But know that the lights are coming on. There is massive awakening happening here for everybody here, I guess, is what I'm hearing. Well, there's a 4.5 here. Some of you are really resisting the lights coming on or like seeing clearly, or you're resisting the veils being lifted, or some of you are resisting your gifts because you're afraid. And you don't need to be afraid, kind of going back to earlier at the beginning where the dragon's like, you don't need to be afraid. There is a lot of religious fear out there regarding spiritual gifts and abilities, and it's all false, is what I'm getting to say. And you can also look at the people who do this who are good, who are in tune and they're accurate, they know what they're doing. And you can see how their life is in general. And sure, some people might be going through a challenge in one phase and you don't have to base it all off of that. But you can kind of see what they're like, how much light is in their eyes, how much light do they bring to the world, how much healing do they bring to the world, what's their impact on the world. And you can see that the words I'm hearing are, I hesitate to use the word good, but the words I'm hearing are gifts are good, or they can be of the light, like they're for the highest good. You can use them in a way that, well, they are of the lights, especially if you're using them for the light, I guess. So you don't need to be afraid. If your intention is to use them for the highest good and follow sources guidance, follow the light, follow the angels, follow your spirit guides for the highest good, like you're gonna be fine, you know. And what's the best thing to be said here? A lot of the fear mongering is to keep people out of their power, because you having your gifts is you being more in your power. You have more clarity, so you know what's the best thing, what are the best things to choose. Like it's easier to have people suppressed if they don't know what's going on, or if they don't know the truth about an organization or religious organization or things like that. So a lot of it's kind of to control people. It's not actually true. So, and then, of course, there are people who they were sold that their whole life. And so they're in fear. And the second they see someone else using their gifts, they're like, oh, and they feel like they have to police that because they were policed on that. And they feel like they have to judge that and attack that because they were judged and attacked regarding that, or saw other people judged and attacked regarding that. Or they're just afraid because of the fear that was pumped into them. So they're just throwing that at other people who do that work. So you don't have to buy into that. It's, your gifts will show you what they are, and you can tell what they are based on what they provide. And by that, I mean, is like if they're bringing healing and light and help to people and it's making your life better and the world greater through you using your gifts, it's probably for the highest good and of the light. And once you get your knowing and intuition honed in all the way, you'll just know if something's of the light and for the highest good right away. You won't have to second guess or wonder. You'll just be like, oh, yeah, channeling's for the highest good. Cool. Oh, yeah, those religious people who are afraid that they were just pumped out their whole life, and that's actually to control people, because if they saw the truth, they wouldn't be religious like that. Okay, cool, I see what's going on there, things like that. So, um, you get it here. Not sure why I'm on that tangent, but hopefully that helps you guys. So what else would be for the highest good to get to here? There's another one. Show me like 4.7 here. Show me a waterfall. Mm. So some of you are like afraid of your power and stop that. I guess, or you're like, for some of you, it's like about your gifts or some other facet of your power where you're like, oh, if I turn that on all the way, am I going to hurt people or harm people? I'm hearing no, first and foremost. The question is like, what is your intention? Like, what's your intention with that? Is it to have power over others and like get one over on others? Is it just to create your best life? Is it to help other people? Like, what's your intention is kind of the question. And if your intentions are good, you're going to be fine, is what I'm hearing, is a way to describe it. So I would trust that. But you don't need to be afraid of your power, especially if it's something you're meant to have. One of the things that helped me a lot with, like if I have great things or if I receive a great gift or regarding me owning my power and magic, was there was like a session someone had offered me which was like about beliefs. It's different than the course I'm facilitating in a sense. It was like a different modality or something. And one of the things was like, you wouldn't have it. Like God wouldn't have given it to you if you weren't supposed to have it. Like God trusts you with a power or the gifts you have, or if God gives you a modality you channel through, like God entrusted that to you and it chose you for that for a reason, and you can trust God and infinite intelligence and infinite wisdom over everybody else's judgments and projections and stories and thoughts and weird mumbo jumbo they've got going on, where maybe someone's been doing it for 20 years. I'm like, oh, they've been doing it for 20 years and I've only been doing it for 5 or 7 or whatever years. And oh, they're going to be so upset if I had. It was like, well, God chose it for me for a reason over them. And if you knew the whole picture like God does, you would understand why you were chosen for something, to have a gift or to have a power that you have or to have power over someone else. Okay. So I would trust the choices God makes with what you're handed and what your role is and the gifts you have and the things you are given, and not question that because God didn't make a mistake with those things. And that's helped me a lot with things like that. Okay. Number 6 here, they showed me a super soaker, like the water gun, which they were like these really big ones they made when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, it would be so cool to have. And I just never ended up getting one as a kid, which is probably okay. But it just reminded me of that while we were going through that. So maybe that's some inner child healing I'm going through or something. But anyways, here's the message. Some of you are soaking yourselves in like the wrong energies. So what are the energies that move you towards your best path? What are the energies that encourage you in the best directions for you? What are the energies that make your life better? Soak in those energies. Whether that's a podcast or it's arts or it's movies or it's, I don't like the word gurus really, but they gave the word gurus or like intuitives, people you listen to, content, etc. Like there might be people who are like selling you flashy things where it's like, oh yeah, join this get rich quick scheme so you can have money and flex on your friends or something like that. It's kind of like, is that really the best influence? Is that really moving you in the best directions as opposed to someone trying to help you have an impact on the world that's for the highest good or something like that? And there's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with having great things in life, but there's a difference between having great things because you genuinely like to have them because that's what feels light to you and intuitively it'll make your life better. And we don't have to put a limit on those things. Universe is infinitely abundant, no limits. That's different than just like, oh, I'm gonna have money to like make this person feel bad and to prove I'm better than other people and to try to feel this hole from my dad saying that thing that one time, which if you're using it for that, it might help or it might just lead you eventually down the road to the things that will actually heal that. So we don't have to judge that either. But like, what's it driving you towards? Like, what are the people you're talking to encouraging you towards? And is that in your best interest? So that's kind of what this is talking about, but it's paying attention to the energy. Like, how are you feeling when you get off the phone with your friend consistently? It's like, sure, they might have an off day where they're having a tough time and that's like one time. But if it's like every time you talk to them for like 2 months straight or something, and you're like, oh, I feel so awful after talking to them. Oh, I feel so awful after talking. Oh, I feel, maybe it's time to wise up and be like, maybe I should talk to this friend less until they shape up or change something or whatever, Same with lovers, even, is something I'm hearing. I know that like sucks to hear if you're going through something like that. But same with family, just it's good to be aware and choose based on awareness instead of just what you wish would be or what you think should be the case. It's better to see what is and choose based on that, which I guess I say a lot now. But that's what it's kind of asking you to look at is like, what are you steeping yourself in? And like, is it serving you? That's literally like the people, the things you watch, everything else. And the things that make your life better, keep doing those things. The things that consistently make your life worse, stop doing those things. I think it's pretty simple. But you can navigate that with grace. You don't have to beat up on yourself if you're like, if it's a big change you have to make. Like I wouldn't force it to happen right away if it's not quite time or something like that. I would sit with like, what would be best for me to do in this situation if you're starting to notice something like that. So I guess this is kind of just like a summary, but some of the best things to focus on, actually they're redirecting me. So I want to sit with what they'd like me to say here. I'm going to read this and then we're going to move on, but it might be good to focus on like healing this month or just seeing what's coming up to, on your journey this month as you're kind of going forward. Sometimes the healing happens as we move or maneuver towards things we'd like to have. So we might be like, okay, well, let's use money again. I'd like to have more money. So you start walking towards those things, and all the beliefs and all the weird thoughts and all the things you picked up from other people start to come up and get shoved in your face. And you're just like, oh my gosh. And then that can be part of your healing journey. It's like, okay, those are the things to work on and to release or whatever to heal, to have what I'd like to have. So, manifesting things, creating things you'd like to have can be a great way just to see what comes. Because like sometimes there's nothing in the way. You just ask and it just boop shows up, So, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Or sometimes if we just move forward in our life and we're just open to healing wherever would be for the highest good, the universe will show us the right things at the right times for us to move towards or heal or move through and heal as it's time. And you don't have to always go like super searching it out and living in misery, constantly going through healing crises. Probably not always the best way to operate. Potentially not ever the best way to operate, but we're each on our own journey, so whatever. Not whatever, but no judgment. Again, I'd definitely be moving away from envy and judgment within yourself. I would be not letting other people's envy keep you from what you'd like to have. I would be moving towards your best path instead of someone else's path. So I'm not sure if I delved into that so much. Did I skip numbers 5 here? So I'm glad I started reading that. So we'll get to number 5 in a second here. And also just like moving towards what you are built for, which is number 5. Number 5, they show me a goat. They asked like, what are you built for? And the message is like, the universe is bringing purpose online. So the things that you're built for are coming in more strongly. It's important that you're moving towards what's for you and what you are built for instead of following someone else's path. You will be better at the things you are built for rather than following someone else's path. So sometimes like we see something that's working for someone else, we're like, oh, I want to do that too. We try to do like exactly what they're doing and it like doesn't work. It's the universe is like saying, one, what would you like to do? But two, like, what are you built for? Like, what's your purpose here? So the good news is like that's coming online more. That's like coming in. That's going to be shown to you more. But it's also like asking you to be wary of like just doing what everyone else is doing just because they're doing it and it seems to be working for them. And keyword could be seems because maybe it's not working the way you think it is. Um, Sometimes I think it's important to ask what we're built for, what we're meant for, and like manifest that. Ask the universe to show us and bring that to us instead of trying to force things in the world or knock down the doors of the universe to force our agenda and way that we'd like things to be right away. And it doesn't mean don't have targets, don't have things you're aiming for, don't have dreams. It's just saying be a little bit loose with the journey to those things and maybe sometimes the form of those things. You don't have to give that up, but it's okay to have the end target in mind without trying to force the how or forcing it to look like someone else's and what they have. It's like, what is your best path? Is pretty much what that is asking. And what you are built for is going to help you find that. So maybe there's a channeled exercise somewhere out there about discovering your purpose or seeing what you're meant for or built for. I'll tell you, I don't feel like it's the right thing for all of you regarding this, or maybe even many of you, but there's Step Out into the World and Shine channeled MP3 bundle on my store at brandonhbloom.com where there's like a full channel mode session. And the exercise in that kind of leads you through like telling you what your purpose is. Like you get it intuitively as you go through the exercise. Especially if your intuition and channeling are unlocked, you'll just be guided through that and you'll receive that information. It's like what your purpose is or what are you meant for. And it's meant to move you towards you stepping out into the world and shining in the ways you're meant to have the impact you're meant to have. So you can, if you don't already have that, you can get that if it calls to you. You don't have to if you're not called to it. Trust your intuition on it, of course. But maybe there are other resources out there that would help you with like figuring out what you're built for or meant for that would move you towards that path. So I'd consider calling that in or doing something regarding that, or at least manifesting it here while you're watching this. So they're saying they're done. I hope that helped resonate to whatever was for your highest good. They're telling me to talk about this. I realized this wasn't maybe, there were some messages like it. It wasn't maybe so much like, this is what's happening in January, is like, here are some things that will help you if they are said regarding this channel messages on January thing. So I really hope this contributed to you and helps you to create your best life, even if I mean, maybe this is what you expect from me, some of you at this point, or many of you, but maybe even if it wasn't exactly what you were hoping for, or you were looking for something a little bit different, I still hope it contributed and gave you what you needed or what will shift your world in the greatest ways for the highest good compared to maybe what you thought you were getting when you clicked on this. But you're still here if you're here at the end. So you must have got something from it or you wouldn't still be here. Okay. So again, I will talk a little bit more deeply about it. As a reminder, I do have the course coming up, Shift Your Beliefs, Upshift Your Life. That is a mini course on shifting your beliefs to more easily generate the life you would like to live. So we will be delving deep into, again, how beliefs create your reality, how to shift your beliefs to generate a greater reality, exercises to do that. There are different things like Valeu Ka symbols. So, Valeu Ka symbols are something I channeled through that you can work with to facilitate energy healing and have energetic impacts for the highest good. And you can look at some of those on valeuart.com. There's some art featuring Valeu Ka symbols that's up there. And there are more Valeu Ka symbols than are there, but that's a place you can look at it and see what the energy is and see if it's for you. So there's a Valeu Ka attunement as part of that course as a bonus. There are ways to work with 4 of the Valeu Ka symbols to shift beliefs, as well as a mini guide on working with them for other things like energy clearing and things like that. So and other things, we'll get into it in the course, but that's a bonus that I'm pretty excited about being there as well, because you get, you know, the how to shift beliefs, you get the channeled frequencies for any of the channeling I'm doing. You have the exercises to shift beliefs. You have ways to discern what beliefs are creating your life in a lesser way than you'd like it to, and how to shift those, and like what you can install to create greater. So I'm excited about the shifts and changes that will bring for you guys who choose to join me for that. You also get like the attunement, and you also get the energy healing aspect that can shift things for you as well. So it's kind of like a double whammy, or maybe a triple whammy if you include the channeled frequencies and the intentionality of the course, because like, as a bonus, it doesn't just apply to the course, it applies to other things. But when you buy something with like a title, and make sure it intuitively feels right to you as well, you don't have to force this, but like if it's a book about having more money, it's like you are setting that intention to have more money by buying that book, even if you don't like read the book necessarily. And you might still be called to read the book. I wouldn't not read the book just because I said that, if you're feeling called to it. But buying a course that's Shift Your Beliefs, Upshift Your Life, like just the intentionality and what that can create and generate with a title like that. In addition to, and that doesn't mean I skimp on the content. Like obviously I make the content as good as would be for the highest good, and as I do as good a job as I can within reason for the highest good with all that. So I don't skimp on that either. But I'm just excited to see what it creates and what it does for you guys, and seeing what happens with that. So that's why I'm talking about it so much. But you can find that on brandonhbloom.com. There's a link below. And Let's Go Higher members do have a big discount. So if you're a member, please buy through the discount module in the membership so you can have your discounts. And if you're on the newsletter, you did get a newsletter exclusive discount as well that you can use. I think I'm going to potentially put it in. So if you sign up for the newsletter, you get that as well, just because I'm talking about it now. And that's another way to get a discount on that if you would like to take the course. And yeah, you get it. So that's it. I hope you have a good January and a good 2025. And I will see you in the future.